Everybody have a seat. I'm ready to get us going. We are so glad to have y'all here this morning. If you're new, welcome. We hope you'll stop by our welcome desk over outside and sign up for our email list, a private Facebook group, and we hope you'll come back and make this your Sunday morning at 10:30 home. And if you are not new, and you're regular, we're so glad you're here. You make us who we are, and we appreciate you being a part of our community. So today we have a great program. We have Brightwire. We love when Brightwire comes. They're going to give us some great music. We also have Andrea Murray is back to talk about weight. Can be a little bit of a loaded topic, but she's going to make it fun. I just know she is. So let's start off with a couple of songs from Brightwire, and then we'll get going with the rest of our program. Thank you.
This old town that knows exactly where we've been. Street corner reminders of all our conquests and our sin. Now the storefronts, they all sit empty and decay, while our memories, they rest here just the same. 'Cause these streets are filled with ghosts that's left alone. No, I think we'd be better off gone. Let these wheels turn, the horizon will be our home. No, I think we'd be better off gone. Better off gone. Better off gone. Street lights all busted, they got us living in the dark. No, there's a light out there, we just gotta find the spark. There's no future when we're dwelling in the past. There's a whole world out there, let's go and make our path. 'Cause these streets are filled with ghosts best left alone. You know, I think we'd be better off gone. Let these wheels turn, the horizon will be our home. No, I think we'd be better off gone. Better off gone from these streets. Oh, the memories of everyone that left before. Left us all behind. Yeah, these streets where our dreams crashed and burned. Lessons we had to learn, make it out alive, to make it out alive. Out alive. Yeah, these streets are filled with ghosts best left alone. No, I think we'd be better off gone.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
It's great to be here with y'all, especially in person. Those great social media memory things reminded me that yesterday, 5 years ago, we were playing on the Zoom version of the Oasis meetings as everything kind of went to a mess. So we're glad to be here in person. And this is a song we wrote with our friend Ben Hall. We wrote this song a couple years after he died. Luckily, we had texted song ideas back and forth, and it was cool to be able to write a song with a friend a couple years after they were gone. So this song's called Threatening the Rain.
She's on her way home, carrying what she knows. The wind blows at her back, and it's icy and cold. Every gust, it twists her like a vein. She keeps getting closer, well, it's threatening rain. The gravel road hums under her wheels. Those mile markers add up, but it don't change how she feels. The dust clouds grow, but she never wanes. It's getting dark now, it's threatening rain, yeah. 'Cause lightning strikes for the blink of an eye, and it lights up all our fears, the things we'd rather hide. The thunder cracks so loud that it shakes us to our core. Let's wash away our doubts as the rain starts to pour. Yeah, wash away our doubts as the rain starts to pour. Her daddy was a good man, but he's 5 years gone, and she still looks for him in the hearts of men that come and go. Their little squalls so weak and inane, they are nothing to fear, barely a threat to rain, yeah. Lightning strikes for the blink of an eye, and it lights up all our fears, the things we'd rather hide. The thunder cracks so loud that it shakes us to our core. Let's wash away our doubts as the rain starts to pour. Yeah, wash away our doubts as the rain starts to pour. Yeah. She's made it home now, she's not alone. Another car in that driveway shows her what she's known. She takes the keys out, storms in like a train. She's bursting through the doorway, well, it's starting to rain, yeah. 'Cause lightning strikes for the blink of an eye, and it lights up all our fears, the things we'd rather hide. The thunder cracks so loud that it shakes us to our core. doubts as the rain starts to pour. Yeah, wash away my doubts as the rain starts to pour.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, they have merch back here. They've got some, don't get it right now, because Andrea's getting ready to talk. But they have, looks like CDs and stickers and other stuff. How much are your CDs? CDs are 10, albums are 20. Is that right? Okay. So, so at the coffee break, feel free to go back there. Andrea has also brought a lot of merch. She's got tape measures and pens and some other stuff. So if you, so if you want to use a pen to write a question down, you could do that. Since we don't have a community moment, she can go on a little bit longer and all that. So anyway, Andrea Murray from MD Anderson Community Outreach. She has a master's in developmental psychology from the University of Kansas and a master's degree in therapeutic herbalism from Maryland University of Integrative Health. And her talk today is titled Healthy Weight, Healthy Life. And welcome, Andrea. Can we move this a little bit? It's kind of in the way.
All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take this out, I think. All right. Okay, it is a pleasure to be here again. It's good to see everyone. So I know this talk is kind of, can be kind of controversial, but I'm going to make it fun, I promise, okay? I'm not going to bore you. Okay, so number one, my name is Andrea. So pretty much what I do, I've been at MD Anderson for about 15 years. I work with people and just helping them make behavioral changes. Sometimes people are coming to MD Anderson because they have cancer. Sometimes they're coming there because they're at a higher risk. But what I've learned in my years of being there is that cancer affects everyone in some way, whether it affects them personally or they have family members that deal with cancer. This is a conversation we all need to have, we need to talk about, even though it's uncomfortable. And so my role is just, I like to meet people where they are and discuss things that they can do to just make general behavioral changes. And so today we're going to talk about weight, but I'm going to make it kind of different than what you might be thinking, okay? So the title of this is Healthy Weight, Healthy Life. If you have questions, I'm going to try to save time at the end for questions because there's a lot to go through, but we'll get to all the questions, okay? All right. Let's see. All right, well, so these are the topics we're going to go through today. Okay, so we're going to go into why maintaining a healthy weight can help reduce your risk for more than 10 different types of cancers. We're going to talk about avoiding empty calories, why that's important, because we do want to avoid empty calories, and how we can control portions to lose weight, why we want to be physically active, okay? So let's first go into what weight means. So one thing I don't like about this presentation is that it shows a scale, okay? I grew up with my mom trying to get to a certain number on a scale. First off, a healthy weight is it's going to be a good ratio between your muscle mass and your body fat, okay? We are all made in beautiful shapes and sizes, all right? So sometimes what our American culture shows as a healthy weight is not what a healthy weight is. There is a term called skinny fat, and I want to say that first. There are a lot of people who appear thin, so they appear what we consider culturally a healthy weight, but that ratio between their muscle mass and body fat is still not a good ratio. So that means that they have low muscle mass and high body fat. Those people who what we call term skinny fat are still the same high risk factors as someone who might be obese. So the terms are going to be the same. So I tell everyone, no matter what size you are, we can all do things, just make sure we're staying active, so we're moving our body, we're trying to keep our muscle, our body fat under control, and we're also building our muscle mass, because as we all get older, one of the beautiful things by getting older is that we lose muscle mass, okay? We lose our muscle mass, so that's why it's harder to lose weight as we get older. So if we have to do things to stay active, it makes us feel better, it helps us with our balance and everything. So keep in mind, a healthy weight is more than a number on the scale. It's so many other things. So I'm gonna go through different measures, what we consider, what they look for, they being your doctors and everything when they're looking for weight. But the things I'm gonna go through, they aren't the main, they're not the main thing about weight, which you want to remember, so you want to work on reducing body fat, increasing muscle mass, okay? So first, if you go to a doctor nowadays, they're going to look for something called a BMI. BMI is a basal metabolic index, okay? It's just a simple scale. It has your height on one side and your weight on the other. So these women here, they are both the different different heights. One is 5'4", one is 5'9", okay? They both weigh exactly the same, all right? But if you look at their BMI, because one person's slightly shorter, the BMI is going to be different, 28.3 versus 24.4. So that means that one person falls in the healthy weight, one falls in the overweight, okay? Now, some people actually will say, okay, well, they both look great, right? They both look fine. And so what I like to use, I love to use this as an example, because suppose you take like a football linebacker, okay? If you only look at that football linebacker's height and weight, they're going to show them as being overweight. If you look at their actual muscle mass compared to their body fat, they're going to be considered a healthy weight. That is why the way someone looks has very little to do with their actual weight, okay, or actually if they're considered a healthy weight. But this is one indicator. BMI is still something that doctors use because it just gives them a general knowledge of what someone might be. So if you go to a doctor and they say, okay, you're registering as overweight or obese, they're only looking at your height and weight. They're not taking into consideration how much muscle mass you have, how much body fat you have, okay? So you want to think about beyond that and not just get stuck on the number like, oh, I'm overweight or oh, I'm obese. Just focus on, okay, I'm just going to work on reducing the body fat and increase the muscle mass, and your body will get to the point that it needs to be. Now, if you want to look at this scale, you can just Google BMI, but because I work in MD Anderson, you can also go to mdanderson.org/weight, and you can see this scale. But it's literally just what I'm saying, weight on one side, height on the other. Bring those numbers together, and you see where you fall into that category, all right? Now, something else to look at is waist circumference, okay? So this is something else we don't like to talk about. So around our waist, around just our midsection, we have a lot of our vital organs are there, okay? So there's a certain type of fat that's called visceral fat. Visceral fat just kind of sticks to your organs that are here in the midsection. So sometimes when people are losing weight, if they're only focused on a number on the scale, they don't think about everything else. They don't think about their waist or how their clothes are fitting. So for example, I use my mother as an example. She knows this. I tell her all the time. I use you as examples all the time in my presentations. So she's completely fine with it. So if my mom is, let's say she's working out really well for 2 weeks, and she gets on the scale and she only sees a 1 pound weight loss, that can be really discouraging to anyone, right? So, but however, she may have actually lost 3 pounds of body fat and gain 2 pounds of muscle, right? Both are moving in the right direction. But because she's only see the 1 pound weight loss only on the scale, she's missing the big picture. If she takes her waist circumference, she may notice she's lost 3 inches, okay? Your waist circumference, this is what they recommend for men and women. But again, you don't want to get focused on a number. You just want to know that you want to see that number decreasing if you feel like you have a lot of weight around your midsection, okay? The visceral fat around our midsection actually releases hormones, and those hormones actually can cause inflammations to the organs in the middle of your body, okay? So it just makes it hard for those organs to function. And we want everything functioning well, okay? We want them functioning well. You want to be able to do the same things when you're older as you do when you're younger. You want to still be able to move and be active and do all of those things. So it's important not to ignore weight. You want to just think about, what can I do to reduce what I can and to still enjoy my life and still have fun, okay? So you can look at your waist circumference and back in the back, and these are all things you can take. These are measuring devices. You just pull on it and you can actually measure your waist if you'd like, and these are for you to keep, okay? Now, if we're just eating, we're not paying attention to food or anything, the average American gains 1 to 2 pounds a year, okay? So in time, that can increase. So if you think over 10 years, that can be like 10 pounds, right? So part of that is because we're losing muscle mass, because we're getting older. And so we're losing the muscle mass, which is a function of getting older. And if we're not, and so it's why, so some people say, well, I'll go for a walk. They'll do the same things they've done when they were younger to lose weight, but it's not working, right? It doesn't work the same because you're thinking, man, it's a lot harder. And this is pretty much why. Also, you got to think your body has been processing the foods you've given it, or the how active you've been. It's been processing that for years. So the older we're getting, it's like, look, we need more from you. You know, your body talking to you. I think about that sometimes if I'm tired, I don't want to go for a walk. My body's like, look, you would feel a lot better if you just get up and go for a walk. So sometimes we got to think about, in order for our bodies to function as well as they were designed to, that we need to make sure we're giving it what it needs, okay? So let's go into weight. So I'm going to talk about how weight ties into cancer specifically, okay? So this is why this is important. This is not just about aesthetics and how we look. This actually relates directly to cancer. So there are more than 10 types of cancers that are directly linked to the hormones that are released from body fat, okay, or excess body fat. All right, and this is not to be scary in any way. It's just to remind us that these are things that we can do to control or to reduce our risk for cancer, okay? So all the things on the screen will show you the different areas of the body that are affected by excess body fat. And so like with prostate cancer, these are all colorectal cancer, pancreatic cancer. So if you have a lot of body fat, then it can actually increase your risk for these things. Now, if you're working to reduce your body fat, you're going to decrease your risk for it, okay? That's what you want to think about. So it's not about trying to get, again, it's not about trying to get to a certain number. It's about reducing the body fat you have because it's going to reduce the amount of inflammation, okay? So you want to reduce inflammation in the body, whether that inflammation comes from food, whether it comes from excess body fat, whether it comes from chemicals, from whatever. You want to reduce the inflammation. And so this is why this is important here, okay? All right. Now I'm going to go specifically into how excess body fat causes cancer. Okay, so I'm going to pull all of this up and I'll talk about it here. Okay. Okay, so basically, like I said before, sometimes we think about body fat, it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there not doing anything. My grandmother, when she was alive, used to call her body fat insurance, right? She grew up during the Great Depression. She's like, baby, so if anyone wanted to lose weight, she always talked against it. She's like, baby, you need insurance, right? Because she grew up during the Great Depression where that insurance was beneficial. You needed that, right? So she felt like she needed that. However, it doesn't just sit there. It can, like I said, inflammation can cause the pancreas to produce more insulin, and the extra fat cells can make estrogen. Too much of that can cause the cells to divide more than usual, and sometimes abnormal cell growth can form tumors that might be cancerous. It's not always the case. It's just sometimes this can happen. This is what they have found in the research and how it can contribute to certain types of cancers. So again, the goal is not to be stressed about this, but just to be aware that, okay, I need to just continue to work on this. Now, one of the things I have found at MD Anderson, if I meet people who are far from what they consider a healthy weight for themselves, they give up on this. They're like, they just turn their ears, turn their eyes. And I say, look, this is not to try to get you to this size. So you want to rethink of what weight means for you. When I see like athletes like Serena Williams or other people like yoga instructors who are not what people consider a healthy weight, but they're healthy weight for them, I love it because it shows a different image of what healthy is. Healthy is not just thin. So sometimes we got to reimagine what health could be for us. All of our bodies are different. We all come in a lot of beautiful shapes and sizes. And so you want to just work on again, increasing the muscle mass, reducing the body fat, and know that if you give your body what it needs through foods and exercise, it's going to help you to get to where you need to be, okay? Now let's go into eating, okay? Let's talk about eating. So eating's another thing that people cringe on, right? Because eating means culture, eating means life, right? It means family, histories, so much. And so I'm going to start out by saying that when I talk about eating, I'm not talking about taking your favorite things away, right? When I work with people on making behavioral changes, and I have learned through myself as well, is that I never want to take away things that people love. I mean, eating can also be pleasurable and enjoyable, and it should be. You should still enjoy the foods that you eat. However, you need to know that what you eat matters. Number one, no matter what you eat, whether it's going to be, the unhealthy stuff or the healthier stuff, what you take in has to be balanced by what you give out, okay? So we're looking at food in versus physical activity. So if you're eating a lot of food, when we measure food in terms of calories, and you're burning that with exercise, if you're, of course, bringing in more calories than what you're exercising, you're gaining weight. Your body is, in my grandmother's term, was storing that as insurance, right? Insurance just in case you decide not to eat anymore. And your body is smart, right? Your body's smart. Your body's like, okay, well, we're getting a steady flow of food, but we're going to store this extra just in case you decide to fast or food goes on a short supply, right? So it's a good mechanism for that in that respect. Okay, so let's talk about one thing we can do. So one thing I like to do, especially we live here in Texas. I'm not originally from Texas, but when I moved here, of course, everything is Texas-sized, right? Everything is Texas-sized. I was even surprised when I went into like H-E-B and they had Texas-sized chips, Texas-shaped chips. Right? I was like, and I remember actually making a video, excuse me, and showing my parents who live in a different state, like they have Texas-shaped chips. They don't have that in Tennessee or in Georgia or these other places, right? Yeah, very special. Yes, very true. So one thing is to re-examine portions. Before you change anything about the types of food you're eating, sometimes we grow up with a mindset about what a portion is. I grew up believing that you have to finish your plate. Right? So even if I was full, I would keep eating because I was taught you're supposed to finish your plate. So that is one thing we can do. So number one, re-examining your portion size. Sometimes we got to re-examine how we were taught to eat. And so that might be saying, okay, I know I was taught this, but I'm going to actually listen to my body now and not eat everything just because it's there, right? So we're going to go into portion sizes. And so this is going to be kind of shocking, but I'm going to pull up all of the recommended portion sizes using our hands, okay? I'll pull them all up and we'll talk about them. Okay, so these are a portion size per serving. Now, serving means that when I'm sitting down to eat, how much I'm going to eat at that moment, okay? This is not for the whole day. So if you look at fruit, rice, pasta, that's the size of your fist, okay? That's what a serving is. And what's really interesting is like sometimes we have a history of eating. Like if I go home to see my family and I eat the foods that I grew up eating that I love, if I get my normal portion, it is not these portions. I'm just going to be honest. Like my eyes are just like, really? Like that's what I'm supposed to eat? So I know it's shocking in the beginning, but I encourage people to try eating the recommended portions. Eat that first. Now it's going to be different than what you're used to. Pause for a minute after you eat that and ask yourself, am I still hungry? Right? Because sometimes the whole theory that your eyes are bigger than your stomach, mentally that's true. Mentally because your eyes are used to eating a certain amount or the history of how you've eaten. And also it has memories associated with it. Like the things I don't eat as much anymore that are not so good for me, I have great memories eating them growing up, right? So I can have those memories, I can have small portions of those, but I just may not indulge in them as much. Something else I love is it on here? Like, well, it's not. So like chips and those type of things or popcorn, like they're really small portions. They're super small portions. These portions are also, when you look at the actual containers, what they recommend. So just something to keep in mind. So you can work on reducing your portions first. You also can limit your portion size when you're out, so you can use pre-portioned baggies. You can, when you're eating out, I do this especially here in Texas, it's because everything is portion size, and I do eat leftovers, because if I see the food, I'm going to start eating it, right? When I first order my food, I tell the server, please bring me a to-go box with the food or before the food. I put it in, half of it in the to-go box and eat the other half, right? And then it just works for me, right? That works for me. You can switch to smaller plates. That works also too. It seems weird, but you know, when you get in the habit of doing it and you really are rethinking about, am I full? Am I full? And you're eating just to feel full versus eating for what you remember, how you remember eating, it makes it easier. So this is a great way of reducing your portion size, reducing your calorie intake, because you're bringing in fewer calories, which is going to reduce the amount of body fat, okay? Now, let's go into empty calorie foods. Now, this is getting into making small changes into the foods that you eat, okay? So bear with me, all right? So, oh, did not pull it up. Okay, that's strange. Okay, it did not pull up empty calorie. It didn't pull up the image for some reason. Okay, so before we got to this, these foods are nutrient-dense foods, okay? For some reason, it didn't pull it up. But empty calorie foods are foods that are tasty, so like your chips, your donuts, all those other things, right? They're tasty. They're full of calories, less in nutrients. Believe it or not, when you get images for hunger, when you get signals for hunger, your body wants nutrients. It wants nutrients. It just wants nutrients. Now, if you eat donuts, it's going to crave more of those donuts because there's few nutrients in those donuts. So you're going to crave to eat more donuts, more cookies or chips or those type of things because you're looking for nutrients. So when I'm getting people to make diet changes, I tell them, look, I'm not going to touch your chips or your cookies or your sodas. I say, I want you to eat something like this first. Give your body what it needs first. Give yourself a serving of strawberries or almonds or vegetables. Eat that first. And then if you still want your chips and all those things, you can have that afterwards. If you practice this, what you find, you will eat less of the foods that are not good for you, okay? It's a really good method of trying, and then what you'll find in time is that you'll start craving more of these things. But just don't think about that. Just think about eating what your body needs first. Think about, I'm hungry for nutrients. Even though my body really wants these chips and donuts right here, I'm really craving the nutrients, okay? So think about that first. All right, something else to look at is food labels. Okay, I hope everything pops up. Okay, so this is another way that I like to tell people about how to look at foods. Of course, the more you eat foods that don't have a label, that's great. So to keep it simple, I tell people eat more foods that don't have labels on them, okay? However, most of us do. And so when you're looking at food labels, you want to look at these things, okay? Okay, number one, you want to check the serving size. Now, my advice is chips. I don't care what I'm doing. Chips is almost my thing that sometimes if I have a little bit, you can't just eat one is so true. Okay, so if this is a bag of chips, in my mind, maybe a size this big should be one serving, right? I may not even pay attention to this food label. But up here it says serving size 1 cup, servings per container, how many? 2. So if I eat the whole bag, I've just eaten 2 servings. So that means that all the numbers underneath are doubled. So I didn't just eat 250 calories, I just ate 500 calories, right? So you want to, number one, pay attention to what you're consuming and if it matches what the serving size is, okay? So something to keep in mind there. You also want to check the calories because, again, you want to eat fewer calories. You want to compare those with the serving size. You want to limit the things that are in orange, okay? Limit the things that are in orange and get more of the things in blue. All right. Now, I will tell you, number one, no matter what this product was, whether it's chips or yogurt or some natural healthy product, everyone's just trying to sell their product. Number one, they're just trying to sell their product to you. So even if it says all natural, all these beautiful, wonderful words on there, it could be loaded with sodium or loaded with sugar. And you can fall down so many bandwagons of, well, I want less sugar, I want less this. And I just tell people, just eat it and eat more plant foods. Just eat something that doesn't have a label on it first, so that so that you can get used to having all of those foods in you more. Okay. Now, if your doctor is telling you to watch out for sodium or watch out for sugars or those type of things, then you want to pay attention to these. But you also want to be aware of what you're consuming. Okay. All right. Something else you can do is watch out for added sugar. This is another thing. For a long time ago, people were on this kind of like low-fat type thing, right? And your body needs fat. Your body needs certain types of fats. However, what it doesn't need is excess sugar, okay? So all of these things, some of these things might be considered somewhat healthy. But if you look at them, they add so much extra added sugars to these just so they're tasty. So you want to keep eating them. So you want to keep wanting them. So sometimes there are ways around this. Like I have 2 8-year-olds. I have twin boys. They're 8. And so, I go through these phases with them. One of my biggest things was yogurt, right? So I used to buy the flavored yogurts. But then I actually paid attention one day to the food labels. And I was like, oh my gosh, I might as well give them a candy bar. So now I just get plain yogurt, a big thing of plain yogurt. It's cheaper. And I'll add my own flavorings to them. I add a little bit of jam or a little bit, so I have more control over that. So sometimes ways around that where you're still giving yourself the foods you love, but you're not getting all of the excess added things that you don't necessarily need. It's another way of doing that too. Okay, fruit juice, right? So let's talk about the juices and everything. So how many, if you had to guess, this is 12 ounces of orange juice, how many oranges, and I don't really know the answer to this, I'm gonna say this number one, how many oranges would you think it would take to make 12 ounces of orange juice? 4? Okay, 4. Okay, he says 6. Okay, I would guess somewhere around there, right? Now, in reality, would you actually eat 4 or 6 oranges at a sitting? No. So the difference between the orange and the orange juice is the meaty, the pulpy part of the orange. So if you drink juice, just straight orange juice, even if it says all natural, all those great words on there, it is straight sugar, okay? It's straight sugar. You know, I hate to say that, but it is. Now, if you eat an orange, the pulp and the things you're chewing of that orange slows down the absorption of the sugars, of the fruit sugars. So that means that even though you're getting that same fruit sugar, it's not spiking up your insulin because you're actually eating the pulp. And that pulp actually it slows it down. So it's better to eat the actual orange than to do juice. But sometimes we want juice, right? Sometimes we just want juice. So with my kids, I have them drink water first because when you're thirsty, you're craving water. You're drinking something to quench your thirst. So they have to drink 8 ounces of water before they have their juice. So they're not depending on the juice with all the sugar to quench their thirst. So it's just another way of thinking about the foods we eat. So again, you're giving yourself the things you like, but you're also thinking about what your body needs in the process, okay? Now the recommendations, even though this is kind of a strange way of recommending it, of added sugar, this is how much, if you have to have added sugar, how much is recommended, okay? This is usually what's in just like one beverage, you know, or like to say coffee, you know, like, which I do coffee. So it's like, so just think, consider this. So sugar causes inflammation too. All right, so I bring this up because just like the foods, just like the eating the healthier portions, it causes inflammation. We get used to inflammation. We get used to feeling inflamed where it's just such a normal part. Like if you eat and you get tired afterwards, or if you eat and you have a lot of phlegm, those are signals of inflammation. And so you want to rethink about ways you can reduce inflammation in your body, okay? Now also sugar goes by different names, okay? So all of these are great, wonderful names of sugar. So of course, these companies knew what they were doing when they diversified sugar. You know, so even though, and I will say too, because people bring up things like, what about honey or what about agave? Those are sugar too. Now there are natural forms of sugar. They have medicinal benefits to them, which is great, right? But they're still sugar. And so I'm not saying avoid sugar. I'm just saying try to avoid the try to avoid it if you can. You just try to reduce it. Just try to reduce it. We'll just go there. All right? Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Let's talk about healthy meals. Okay, so at MD Anderson, and not just for MD Anderson, but to reduce your risk of cancer, we recommend a plant-based diet. Plant-based does not mean you have to be vegetarian, okay? So open your ears back up. It does not mean you have to be vegetarian, all right? It just means that 1/3 of your plate can be from protein sources. Proteins can come from plants or from animals. 2/3 of your plate or the foods you eat per day can come from plant sources. So when I'm working with people to try to help them reduce their risk of cancer, at first I ask them, so if you had to think about your fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains, those are plant foods, how many do you eat per day? And they'll sit there and they'll think a little bit, and they're like, I don't know, maybe 2. You know, I say, okay, so for this next week, you're going to increase that to 3 per day, right? Because I'm very much a realist. So I tell people, gradually bring these foods into your diet, okay? Make this a lifestyle. When you're making these changes, excuse me, that's Houston too, the allergies and the pollen and everything. Okay, so when you're making these changes, you don't want to think, again, you're not trying to just get to a certain number. You want to think about your life, right? You want to still be able to enjoy the foods you eat. You still want to be able to, so all these things should be lifestyle changes. So you can start by doing that. If you know how many plant foods you eat, just think about adding 1 per day. My dad, who went plant-based, also he doesn't do this per plate. He does it over the course of a day. So for him, that looks like he is very much a meat and potatoes man. very much. He always has been that. So he will always have his dinner is meat and potatoes of some form. But for lunch, he has a vegetarian lunch, or he'll have fruit or nuts as snacks. So sometimes you can incorporate more plant foods into your snacks, or just add them as a serving for lunch. So you want to think about what works best for you. Like when I do work with people, I tell them, you know you more than me, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, do this, do that. I'm going to ask you, what could you do? What's realistic for you? What will work for you? You know, what type of things have you been taught about eating that you want to kind of change and work on? All right. Okay, now I'm going to keep going, then we'll go to questions. Let's talk about being active, okay? So this is the other part of that coin, all right? So being active, of course, is going to matter too. We want to bring in the foods. We want to stay active in some way. Number one, just sitting less can be a great thing, okay? So finding ways to get up and move. Number one, when you move, not just for weight, you're moving all the fluids in your body, okay? You're moving your blood through your system. Even though your heart pumps your blood, being active and walking and moving, that also moves blood through your body. You're moving your bowels, okay? So you're moving all of that. You feel better after you walk or exercise because you're moving the chemicals in your brain. You're moving your lymph through your lymph nodes. If you're sitting and you find your leg tapping or something, that's a signal to you that your body wants to move. So think about finding ways to sit less, having a standing desk, or if you wear an activity watch of some sort, you can program it to buzz your arm before the hour ends, so that if you haven't moved that often. I love this during COVID. During COVID, I'm sitting at a desk. I used to wear a Fitbit. If it's 10 to the next hour and I haven't moved, it would buzz my arm and it would say basically something like, get up. And I would get up and I'd walk around my couch during the COVID times, and that's what I would do. So find ways to just move, even if it's like a 5-minute walk or something can be helpful. Now the recommendations for activity is this, okay? So either 150 minutes of moderate activity a week or 75 minutes of vigorous. Now the difference between, and this is per week, okay? So like 150 minutes can be like 30 minutes, 5 days a week, but you can break that up to however it looks like for you. Now, the difference between moderate and vigorous is basically you want to do something that you like. If you're someone who doesn't want to be out in the Houston heat, then don't go out in the Houston heat. I would never make someone do that, okay? But moderate is some activity where you can talk while you do it, but you may not be able to sing, okay? So like walking is a great example. You can hold kind of a little bit of a conversation when you're walking, right? Or yoga or more on the lawn. Now, vigorous is something like running or cycling or a Zumba class. You can only say a few words. Or if I'm doing an exercise class, I'm not talking. I'm not going to say very much, right? So you want to find ways of fitting these in. And you want to think about you. Think about what you like. Like if you're someone that likes to be social, then doing something social. Also keep in mind dancing. Dancing is a great way of being active. So sometimes you hear your favorite song, get up and dance to it, That's something, right? So that is something you can do. You also want to find ways to do strength training. Remember, we lose our muscle mass as we get older, so you want to keep your muscles strong. Even if you are seated, you guys know what the resistance or stretch bands are? Those are great. Like my mother has those. She will sit and watch TV with her stretch band, right? It still works great. So she'll sit, she won't get up, but she'll use the stretch bands and work her arms. She'll do her strength, her exercises that way. And so that's still good. That's still exercise. So basically, strength training is anything where your body is resisting a force. Okay, these are fancier ways of doing it, and if you can do that, that's great. If not, you can use weights, but just make sure your body's resisting a force of some kind, okay? All right, now I'm going to ask these questions here. Okay, I do want to bring up, before I open up for questions, I do want to mention we do have a program. This is for anyone at MD Anderson. You don't have to come there for this. It's a study called Text to Move. It's 8 weeks. You get a free Fitbit. Okay, if you're interested, you email text2move@mdanderson.org to sign up. All it does is that gives you daily messages on your Fitbit reminding you to be active, right? To keep the Fitbit. It's pretty good, right? So text to move to sign up if you're interested. All right.
So we're going to take a coffee break.
Okay.
Question and answer.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So this is what we went over, and I'll let you guys take your coffee break, and then we'll come back and you can ask questions. All right? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, folks. So we're going to take a little bit of a coffee break. I want to remind you about the swag and the merch back there. I think also if you want to write down your question, you can do that. And then we're going to have a song at the beginning of the coffee break, and then we'll do the question and answer. All right. See you all in a bit. musical offering, as that was called in another life, from Brightwire. And then we'll have our question and answer, and then after that, we'll have, of course, announcements and et cetera. So let's hear it for Brightwire.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ella. So we just had snacks. That was better. Has anyone here been to the new Meow Wolf installation here in Houston? All right, if you go to Cowboy Heaven, their bar in there, you hit N2 on the jukebox, and you'll hear the full band version of this song of ours. So that was our big moment for us. We got to be included in that, which was super cool.
Yeah.
So here it goes.
That's not the right song.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, and then that was a big intro for a failure, but you know, whatever. The daybreak comes with the sin from last night. Scenes we regret exposed in the morning light.
Ashtray, broken mascara, and with tears. It's the same old hangover we've been fighting for years. Just lonely dollars spend slow. The lonely lovers don't know when to let go. If there's one thing I know, it's the more you make, the more you blow.
But my cover around the tree outside. Nights like these feel lucky, get on my lap.
For every step forward, you know they knock me down twice. Yeah, you can have the pie, man, all I want is a slice. 'Cause lonely dollars spend slow. Lonely lovers don't know when to let go. If there's one thing I know, it's the more you make, the more you blow.
Time it else to get out.
Kiss your baby's lips or rub her thigh. Meet me down at the wheel tonight. Blowing all the money, drinking on a Saturday night. Lonely dollars spend slow. Lonely lovers don't know when to let go. There's one thing I know, it's the more you make, the more you blow.
Thank you.
Got it? There we go. So Andrea's going to start with, you can go on up there. And I've got a couple of questions that somebody wrote down. Does anybody else have questions that they wrote down that they want to give to me? Nope? Okay. This better? Yeah. Okay. So, starting with these two that I have here. Started exercising and my appetite became ravenous. I can eat high fiber foods, but it's still hard not to overeat or to eat below maintenance. Do you have any advice for me?
Okay.
And then the second comment was, this person started wearing sunscreen because of your last talk.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
What advice would you give someone who diets and can't keep the weight off, i.e. yo-yo dieting?
Okay. Great questions. Both of those are very important questions. Number one, I think a lot of it is you have to get to a rhythm of what's working for you. And it takes time, especially if, let's just say that I'm going to use chips again as an example. Like if I have certain foods that are my comfort foods, right? And we all need comfort. Like if you're eating for comfort, like maybe you're eating, if you're having a bad day and you're fine, okay, I'm feeding myself extra foods, not because I'm hungry, but I'm eating for another reason. Then that is something acute for you, that you're looking for comfort. So sometimes like there's so much out there. There's so many ways to approach this. But I like to start off with thinking about, are you eating because you're hungry? Or if you're eating other times because the food is there, maybe you're bored, maybe you are eating for comfort, then you want to re-examine that, right? Now, then everyone needs comfort, right? Everyone wants to do something when they're bored. So sometimes you have to go through behavioral strategies of saying, what else can I do to fulfill what I need in this time? It's not about punishing yourself like, oh, I shouldn't need comfort. We all need comfort, right? And so sometimes you got to think about what else can I do to comfort myself. So if you are, working toward losing weight and you have, a rhythm of eating and you feel like that's something you can maintain, that's great. And if you feel like it's helping you to take off some of the weight, that's good. But if you find the weight is still kind of going up or you feel like you are trying, so that's first off. So you want to get into a rhythm, stay with that rhythm and identify what other triggers you might have for eating and look for other sources to give yourself what you need. I think that addresses the first question. Now for a second question with yo-yo dieting. And so there's so many different diets out there, and sometimes it can be very easy to jump on like a different bandwagon of eating. And I'll just go back to think about yourself, okay? Like there's so many different ways of eating. Some might work right for you, some might not work right for you. But you want to think about what I can do long term. If you're eating a certain way and that food is something you say, okay, I can maintain this, like now, tomorrow, the next few years, then that's great. Then stay with that. And even if someone says, I want to take on intermittent fasting or this type of diet, you could try that, but you want to get down to the core of what you're eating should still be some more plant-based. So our goal when we tell people to eat more plant-based, that's just incorporating that method of eating no matter what you're doing, okay? It's like if someone says, I want to incorporate more meats into my diet, that's fine, but you still want to make sure that most of what you're eating are plant foods. If someone wants to do intermittent fasting, if you want to do that, that's fine for you. You can just see how that works for you, but you still want to make sure the foods you're eating are more plant-based. So you still want to look at nutrients that you're giving yourself over quantity or how much you're getting or the types of foods you're getting. Okay, so.
All right, any other folks?
Yes.
Oh, aha, okay, thank you. I
Hi.
apologize, and if I already missed this question, because
No,
I
it's
was out of
okay.
the room. but
Okay.
It has to do with inflammation.
Okay.
Which I've been really obsessed with for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And used to get doctors to be sure to do the CRT or whatever it's called, tests when they did blood work. And I was told one doctor most recently did not include it, and I asked her assistant, and she said, if she could add that, and she said, oh, well, I think the doctor prescribed what she thought she should have,
Okay.
which was, anyway. But what you taught us this morning was so important, and I had not understood. So how fast can I pare my intake down to change that inflammation, that is coming from all that fat around my gut?
Okay.
And I want to know more.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
Well,
you.
first off, thank you for advocating for yourself and looking for different triggers, different methods to look at how much inflammation is in your body. I tell people to listen to themselves. Sometimes we get in the habit of eating or doing certain things, and we just overlook signs of inflammation in our body, right? And first off, we don't live in a bubble. So let me just say that first off, okay? So there are so many things we bring into our body, either through the environment, right? Because we live in Houston, so there could be things in the air that's getting in us that can cause inflammation. There could be things in our clothes. There could be so you got to think about controlling what you can control, right? And we have our own genetics, and our own genetics are going to contribute to how well we are able to digest our foods. Our history of how we've developed our foods have created our guts, our gut flora, right? So for example, and I should have mentioned this before, if someone says, okay, I'm gung-ho, I'm going to start eating all these plant foods, so they just jump right in from not eating plant foods to eating a bunch of plant foods, they're going to be uncomfortable, right? Because they have the gut flora that's not there to digest those foods. So this should be something that's a slow build. You should slowly ease into this. It's not going to change overnight, just like our body's not going to release that insurance overnight either, right? It's not. It's like, are we sure we're going to give this away? Are we sure we want to get rid of this weight? So you got to think about it. Your body's trying to maintain a homeostasis, and it's also trying to balance out what you give it and keep you functioning, honestly. So number one, listen to your body, okay? So if you find that you are eating foods and you're having like a lot of gas symptom or bloating, so look at the food. Ask yourself, okay, suppose someone is eating a lot of raw things and they're getting a lot of gas symptoms or uncomfortable GI symptoms. Then, for example, like when people are going through treatment at MD Anderson, sometimes those treatment make it hard to digest certain foods. So I tell them, cook the foods first, right? So cooking breaks down the fiber. So this is number one. If you eat a raw food and it's harder to digest, then you want to focus on cooked vegetables and stuff first because it breaks down the fiber. It makes it easier for your gut. So I want people to be comfortable, right? I want them to do these things long term. So if they have a lot of severe symptoms when they jump into eating healthier foods, they won't maintain it because they're like, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have uncomfortable gas or uncomfortable GI symptoms. So eat what you like, ease into it, try new things, incorporate variety. All those things are going to be important. Also, ask yourself after you eat, how do you feel? Check in with your body. How do you feel? Are you tired? Are you bloated? Are you having any other signs of inflammation from what you've just done? And if so, just kind of start doing your own tests. Take out certain things. So maybe you have a gluten sensitivity. There's a lot of people who they may not be gluten intolerant or dairy intolerant, but maybe they have a sensitivity, or maybe they have a sensitivity to certain types of things in the foods. So you want to just kind of do your own tests in that way. Sometimes those things may not immediately show up on a blood test. You know, they may show up later or something. But you want to you can either work with a practitioner who might help you, or a dietitian who might be able to help you look at some of those things, but I would kind of do a slow test that way. And in time, your body will get rid of what it feels like it needs to. And this kind of fat is stubborn. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just stubborn, right? It's just stubborn. As we get older, it's like our body gets kind of in this rhythm and habit of its own based on what we've done. But you can still, so even if it's stubborn, you want to think of what health. Are you healthy? Even if you might appear a certain type of way to somebody else, you want to think about, I'm active, I'm eating well, I'm listening to my body. You want to think about health and not just an image of what weight looks like. Okay, that's kind of a long way of answering the question. So,
thank you. You said a lot about sugar when you were talking. What's the latest what are the latest thoughts on sugar substitutes?
Okay, sugar substitutes. Oh, goodness. Okay, so first off, I should say I'm not a dietitian. Okay, so I'm going to give you my Andrea response to this, all right? And a little bit of what I know from MD Anderson. So you want to, number one, follow your doctor's recommendation. Okay, if your doctor is telling you to consume sugar substitutes because maybe you have diabetes or something like that, then you want to do that. My issue, I think, when I work with people with sugar substitutes, substitutes are so overly sweet. So let's take what I call a sweetness meter, right? Not how kind you are, but a sweetness meter of taste. Okay, I grew up in like the Southeast, where like, for example, my mother would put about that much sugar in tea. I didn't even know that they served unsweet tea until I moved to other places. I'm like, they have unsweet tea, really? Like, I didn't know this. So sometimes if you are used to artificial sweeteners, they're extremely sweet, right? So where if that is what their sweetness meter is, then everything has to be that sweet for them to appreciate it. So that means if you give them a plain apple, they might not be able to appreciate the natural sweetness of an apple, which is sweet. If you give them something else that has a mild sweetness to it, let's take a banana that's not like speckled, or overripe. They may not be able to taste the sweetness in it because they're used to things being that sweet. So what I had to do, this is from personal experience, because I was used to things being very sweet. That was my thing. If it wasn't sweet, like candy, I didn't want it. That was just an Andrea thing. So I had to wean myself down. So I would just sweeten things just enough. Like, yes, I could use an extra pack of sugar, but I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get used to this amount. And I basically tailored my sweetness meter down to where I did not need to add so much sweeteners to things. Okay, so you want to do what you prefer. Now, something else about artificial sweeteners is that you want to think about your body's ability to digest foods as well, too. Artificial sweeteners are artificial, right? So again, I'm not going against what your doctor is telling you to do, but it takes a lot to digest those things. There are extra chemicals and additives in those things. We don't know everything yet, right? I don't know if 20 years down the line they say, well, artificial sweeteners is causing this. We don't know that. So I always tell people, just get as much real food as you can, right? 'Cause number one, if you get the real food, they're plant foods that grow in nature, wild. If you get those foods, it helps to protect you. It gives your body what it needs to help fight off the things we're naturally exposed to, right? I'm not going to be here to try to say I know every answer to, well, this chemical is going to cause this. I'm just going to give myself what my body needs and just trust my body to do what it can to fight off what it needs to. And if it needs help, like if cancers or something's developing, then I'm listening to the signs my body is giving me so I can get the help that I need to prevent those type of things. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, hold on, Lou, I'm coming.
I give long answers, y'all, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is there any way I can measure my BMI?
Yes, yeah, you can measure BMI. You can go to that scale. You can first just Google BMI. You can go to mdanderson.org/BMI. And it has it's literally like a table, and it has weight, I think weights at the top and heights at the bottom, and or one axis and the other. You bring those numbers together, and you see what your BMI is. Yeah, so, but that's just one measure. So a lot of people will look at that and be shocked. They'll be like, oh, it says I'm overweight, and they'll get discouraged. So just think of it as just one thing, right? It's not going to show you a full picture. The full picture is looking at having a healthier ratio between your body fat and muscle mass.
Okay. Am I correct in thinking that you only actually lose fat when your body is in ketosis? So you actually have to have fairly long periods of time when you actually don't consume any sugars or carbs in order to burn the fat?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to know the answer to this, but I know when your body is losing weight, it's losing either fat or it's losing muscle, okay? So you can lose muscle, and sometimes I know that, I don't know if I don't know if I'm be able to get the best answer to this, but I do know that your body can lose either fat or muscle. Okay, so now when you're in ketosis, I don't know if you're losing fat or muscle. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. That might be more of a question for a dietitian, which I may not know. So I apologize. But I do know you want to lose less muscle. You want to lose more fat. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question real quick. I'm on Rybelsus. That's one of those, what do they call it, SL1 agonists or whatever?
Yeah.
Ozempic, y'all. So, Ozempic, Rybelsus, Wegovy, Mounjaro, 101. Tell us what you know.
Okay, I will say this. I will say that, number one, you don't want to go against what your doctors told you to do. It's a great way. It's one way of losing weight, but it doesn't really take into account the eating and the activity, right? So, of course, there's always going to be things, and even if you look through history, that people have been given or taken that can help people lose weight, right? It would be great. I would love it if you could just give someone, and they can now, give someone a pill and they can just lose weight. But it's not, you want to think more about health. So you want to, even if you're taking a pill to help you lose weight, it can make you you feel more motivated. It can take off some of the excess body fat, which will help you move more. That's great, right? But you don't want to give up on nutrition, and you don't want to give up on activity. I think that is key. Nutrition and activity is what's going to prolong your life, okay? Your body needs nutrients, and your body's not going to necessarily get nutrients through a pill. Yes, you can take supplements and vitamins, but are you digesting those supplements and vitamins? You don't know, right? It depends on your gut flora. If you're eating foods in its real state, it's going to actually be, your body is more likely to digest it the way it's meant to digest. Your gut flora has to also adjust to what you're doing. So that's another reason why we're not robots, right? Like you can't go from eating one way and then eating the next day and then just expect to feel great all of a sudden. You may have moments you feel great. You may have days where you kind of still feel like crap. But in time your gut flora changes and adjusts to what you're doing, and you've noticed a change in symptoms you might be having. So even if you're taking a pill, just make sure you're still giving yourself the plant foods, you're still staying active, you're still doing the things we talked about. Okay?
Okay, this will be our last question.
Okay, a related question. Doctors are now not prescribing GLP-1s unless somebody's diabetic, because diabetic people are finding they can't get the help they need.
Yeah.
However, on television, there's a lot of companies that are saying now this is a new way to lose weight, and they're kind of suggesting that you're going to get a GLP-1. Is anybody checking on those, if those things are real, or are they just a scam?
Goodness, sometimes this is when I wish I had more of the knowledge to answer. I don't know if people are checking on them. I know that, just being realistic, we're in an industry that's trying to make money, of course, right? So I know that even if these are prescribed for people with diabetes, they may also get into the hands of people who don't have diabetes, who want to lose weight. Are they checking on them? I don't know. I don't know. But I would tell, like I said before, anyone that no matter if someone's taking those things, sometimes it's good to have. Sometimes it's good to know that if someone is just taking a pill, they're just relying on a pill for everything, they're not looking at nutrition and exercise, they may just say, okay, well, I don't need to eat healthy. I can still eat these bad foods and not be active. And that in time might still do something. So I just encourage people to still work on those two. You want to think about health and less about physically what we look like, right? Of course, we want to be comfortable, right? And taking off the excess body fat, if you carry a lot, can make you feel more comfortable. But yeah, so I will still make sure you're working on the nutrition and the exercise. All right?
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all very much.
So before we have our last song, let me switch mics here. All righty, so some few quick announcements. I don't have the right glasses on to look at this. So next Sunday is the Northeast Houston Monthly Social. We are collecting things for AVDA, the Assistance for Victims of Domestic Violence. There's a white box over there in the back that has a flyer with the items that we're collecting. Feel free to take a picture with your camera of that flyer so you know what items to get. We'll be collecting that through the month of April. And then at the end of April, our plan is to kind of gather and put all those into bags or something to give to the AVDA folks. So that's what we're doing in April. We also have our secular month of action is starting in April. We're having a blood drive on Sunday, April 13th. So be sure and go to the link on our website on the calendar to sign up for that, so we know how many people we're going to have. Blues Night is on April 17th. I'll be gone this coming week, and after that we have the midweek late lunch on April 10th at Nico Nico's. So hope y'all can make it to that. We need money. We always need money. So if you're not signed up for a recurring donation and would like to, please talk to Tim. We have a hat back in the back if you want to give a cash donation. If you want to sign up and volunteer to give time, we're also always happy to have people help out doing the various things that we need done. We rent our space here, we rent storage space, we pay for somebody to be in the child care room, so we definitely have financial needs that we need to take care of. Let's see, what am I missing? Tim, anybody? I think I'm pinch hitting, guys, today. I think I got everything. All right, so another song from Brightwire. Thank you.
Thank y'all. We really appreciate y'all having us today. We've been here a few times, and I just got the best compliment during the break. Somebody said, we didn't think we were going to come this morning, but we saw y'all were here, so we came. So that's a huge compliment. I appreciate it. I know a lot of y'all know us because we're here kind of often. We also used to be members of Galveston Bay Oasis when it was a meeting in person. Yeah. But this is not all we do. My husband works at a library. I'm semi-retired right now, and we also have a podcast where we talk to local musicians about their lives and what it takes to kind of be a musician in the minor league. It's called Music in the Minor League, and we have a sticker back there. The stickers and buttons and stuff are free. Only charge you for the music. Appreciate y'all hanging out. My name is Kim, and this is Sam. We're going to do a little cover.
It's starting to feel like we all need some shelter these days. Forgot to mention, lunch today is at Katz's. They have really big portions. So remember what she said about getting the to-go container, like when you order your food. Just saying. Also, their parking can be a little funky, so try and get over there as soon as you can. Take care of each other, y'all. Go in peace.